Here we go. Hello, welcome back to the Den-o extravaganza here on Toku Ramblings. Today we are talking about what I equivocally call the Toku Sato trilogy of films for Den-o. Den-o, in this case, is I'm Born or Ore Tanjo, Climax Cop or Climax Second that features Kiva for like 5 seconds. And then Final Countdown. Not that one. So, let's start with I'm Born. And it's there. It's there. So the Denliner gets hacked by the thief King Gao, who intends to find the Gao-liner. Weird coincidence, but ever destroy all of time because Ryotaro, Hana, and Momotaro are left in the year 2000, where Ryotaro loses memories of his time of Den-o, and Momo can't enter for whatever reason. They run into a younger Ryotaro that they named Kotaro to avoid confusion. And Yuto just shows up to get the plot rolling because they really needed something. Like, this movie is shockingly underwhelming, all things considered, because like they put a lot of build up to this entire film. It got 5 episodes dedicated to it. 2 of which was to introduce Sig, the new Imagine that's helping them and gives him a new form. And I like him. I like his sort of haughty attitude and sort of princely demeanor, and how everyone else really doesn't like him. And because he's kind of, an upper class twit. And then, like, this film does technically have consequences. And so that goes into the next 2 parts after the movie arc in the series. Alright, so it's kind of like its own little mini saga meant to cap the first half of Den-o, but it just feels so underwhelming for a movie. It is. I've used this for like the Sentai summer movies that accompany these writer movies, but this definitively feels like a 2-parter episode that just got the movie treat meant to have something for the summer. The villain is not particularly that interesting, a nihilistic pirate / bear, who we basically learned nothing about. How we learned about the Gao liner, who he is, who he was before. And even the arc barely mentions it outside of showing him a couple of times in his plan to do things. And, the Denliner crew getting stuck in the past would have been more interesting if Xeranos wasn't a thing at this point. Probably, like, they were legitimately trapped in the past, and, like, something was allowing them to, and, like, maybe Sieg had a new train that they could run. And, I do like the suit that they have for him. I like the gold. I think the boomerang weapon is actually kind of neat. The blue. No, it's really good. I'm kind of avoiding the big elephant in the room, the Gal suit. I don't mind the kind of bronze gold color. It's more just, it feels weirdly bulky up top between the shoulders, the head. It just feels like a worse form of the form, and really he just doesn't do, like, the actor does have some decent screen presence, but they really don't give him enough. No, and like, yes, they visit the favorite set of Edo, Japan, where the crew fights ninjas trying to uncover the Gal. No, but even when compared to, like, even the weakest film at this point, like, summer movies at this point, like, I'm thinking, like, Wizard and Land. That felt like it was really using the movie. Not every, and like even like Surprise Future, which is notably a lot more cut, like at least has the excuse of it's dealing with much more personal character issues and the threat of the fact that Belson might go crazy is looming over the entire cast. Here, it's just so underwhelming. They fight in a generic destroyed factory location in the future. And despite the Taros all fighting together because of brought back realtors that were shown in the 3-part saga, it's just there. That's the big issue with this film. It's just there. And it's so odd because it's such a built-up film. Normally these films are just kind of happen. They're never canonical to the main plot. Plot just a fun little side story that but this just exists, and that's weird. I guess existing is better than being pointless, like with Climax, which really, really frustrates me. Because you have to put in perspective of what this wasn't. This was aiming to be like the first legitimate crossover between writers. It did not happen like, yes, there was Ryuki versus Agito, but that was not really a crossover, just a special video where they had the Agito suit show up, and it was this weird alternate reality where they were more like a Sentai. But this was supposed to be the first big crossover. And what do we get? Well, apparently the Deadliner crew is now running a detective agency in the wake of the defeat of Kai and more rogue imagines like going around when a new Nega Taros, again, not really explained who he is, why he's doing this, or how he got another Deadliner past, is running a basically mafioso crew consisting of both Imagine and Vanguard, the main monsters for Kiva. So with the assistance of a new detective who, ironically, the series that followed these two would more or less play Yusuke. Okay, I think I'm right about that. I'll remind myself later. But yeah, I bet you're wondering where Kiva is in all this. Well, he shows up for like a whopping one scene where he interacts with Ryota. Throughout has actually kind of some interesting reactions to him being possessed, but then vanishes off to nowheresville for the majority of the film, and with just very little fanfare rides up on his Harley, transforms, and that's it. That is the crossover between Den-o and Kiva. The first big crossover in Kamen Rider history for the Heisei period, and it's one scene. It is the most disappointing, letdown thing I think I have ever seen. And that kind of goes for the rest of this. Yes. It's here because Den-o was still extremely popular, and Toei wanted to squeeze a bit more money out of the fans. Here. No one cared about making a truly good movie, even though both Imagine and Vanguard show up again. Kiva barely helps. Because, man, does everyone in this film feel like they are on autopilot. I get no joy out of anyone in this film, and you can just tell that I don't really think Kobayashi was doing this because she cared. This was a paycheck, and it shows in the fact that the evil organization is just the evil organization. Now, there are some things about this film that are okay. I like Ryuteros' arrest spree early on. Orato's possessing Yuto is interesting, and both are the owner and Naomi get some good chuckles. And here, looking back on this, I realized that I really did kind of like Owner a lot more. He had this sort of weird trickster mentor thing that I think they were trying that Ninja would try with with the grandfather, but fail incredibly because this one was at least kind and helped from time to time. He sort of just was like lol, losers, you didn't do the right thing, try harder. But that's it. Negataros is barely a villain and gets sword form recolored with purple and weird designs. Yes? Give me a second. Yeah, sorry about that. Someone asked me some. But yeah, it's so weird because this movie should have been a lot better than it is. It's the first Heisei crossover, and it is so underwhelmingly. Yeah, Geki Ranger versus Bokenger was better than this. Yes, and that's just because it actually had interactions that went beyond just one scene. It just kind of like, yeah, I could probably talk about the detective who I not can remember the name of because he only shows up here and never shows up again. And he has a dad that disappeared fighting the evil organization, which is still the dumbest fucking thing ever. Great, I'm gonna have to censor that. That's how much I'm annoyed with this thing. It's just such a uninteresting film that feels so middling. It would technically be the worst film, but we still have Choden now to talk about, and we'll get to that. But that leaves us to Final Countdown, which was the last Den-o film made. And if you can't tell by my quotation marks, it's not the last Den-o film because we have five more things to talk about. So yeah, the last film wasn't canon, so the Den-liner crew show up to talk with to meet up with Ryotaro and Irie. Oh yeah. Yeah, Irie, Issei, and the third real show up in these movies as obligatory cameos. They do almost nothing. Anyway, they show up and are attacked by a bunch of shadow and creepy Imagine led by a Kamen Rider who turns out to be a Ryotaro possessed by the ghosty Jin. They are subsequently handed their butts, and for some reason none of the Taros transform, even though we saw that they could transform without Ryotaro in the series finale. And even with the appearance of Yuto, they are almost defeated until a blue Den-liner shows up with a new rider who's able to help them beat back. So this is Ryotaro's grandson, Kotaro. I have things so confusing sometimes with the series, and his own imagined partner, Teddy, who revealed that they are essentially pulling a redo of Born, and that the big bad is trying to acquire some new special train. In this case, Shiro, who wants to reverse the living and the dead because he has a girlfriend he wants to see again. Yeah, this is essentially just I'm Born once again, or if we're going by the Japanese, or a Tentan Joe. But it is the better film, and by a very, very low margin, the best Den-o film in my opinion. Yeah, there's a lot better stakes here, especially set earlier on when the heroes are nearly beaten until the arrival of new Den-o. The lack of Ryotaro is a much better thing than just him losing his memory, but he could still be possessed by C because and I like that he is basically sort of more a background here to give the other crew members a chance to shine, since well, they didn't know that he was going to become a very, very big thing. And I get the feeling they were wanting to replace him with Kotaro, but I have some weird feelings about Kamen. It's more when we first see him, he's in suit. And then there's the actor himself. The suit actor just gives this confident, cocky attitude with his walk, the snap of his fingers to Teddy, who immediately listens to show that this is a very different dynamic to the main heroes. He does this obviously hoist petarding of he'll count how many moves he will take to beat you. And then we see him out of suit, and I don't buy it. I really don't buy this kid being the same person. I was expecting someone maybe a little haughtier looking like someone who looked really rich and snobbish. It is kind of hard to put his character down because despite being the new character here, he's more there to serve as sort of helping the heroes fight than having an arc of my grandpa sucks because he's not strong, and then getting taught that his grandfather was strong, just not the traditional idea of strength. Again, it's hard to pin down his character because it's only for this film, and yes, he gets an arc, but he doesn't get the main focus until his Den-o film. But it's at least something. It's at least something to grasp onto, to which I'm born in. And, again, the villain has an actual motivation for wanting to do it outside of just pure destruction, and gets backstory, which gives him something. Yes, you're not supposed to forgive him for what he's doing, but it gets something that's worthwhile. And overall, the suits are a lot better in this. I like the blue that the suit has going for it. The rails are a bit aggravating, but I think it's an overall good. So Yuki basically repurposes Gao's suit, but it looks a lot better. I like the decrepit look it goes for compared to Gao, since this is a ghost train. The color difference between the two main forms when Shiro and the Ghost Imagine didn't work well, and the pauldrons don't bother me. Maybe just because the helmet is not as bulky and just works a lot better this time around. Now, again, this film is probably not going to blow anyone away in terms of like films. It's probably not even in my top 10 writer films, but as a final send-off to the Deadliner crew, it's good. It's a much better I'm Born. Born that has better stakes, better overall new characters that they introduce, and just a grander scope that it better makes use of. It would have been a nice send-off to this franchise, or this series in the meta series. It would have, but we have technically 5 films to go, so see you next time for the Den-o quadrilogy plus Pretty Den-o. As always, do all the things for the YouTube algorithm, like, comment, subscribe. Alright, and we will see you around. Like, this is a... Thanks, I have to cut this down.